Welcome to Tambellini Group's Women in Technology Spotlight Series, where we're showcasing the achievements, perspectives, and career paths of the remarkable women driving change in technology strategy in higher education. Today, we're lucky enough to be joined by Dr. Melissa Harts, the former CIO and SVP of Technology and Distance Education at Pasco-Hernando State College in Florida. Welcome, Dr. Harts.
Thank you. Appreciate being here. It's an honor.
Well, we're very lucky to have you, and you're certainly more than deserving. But before we dive into the work that you've done, I'm curious to hear what you thought you wanted to be when you grew up and why.
Okay, so I don't have any recollections of wanting to be a certain position when I was little, but my father tells me that one time when he went outside, I was playing in with the neighborhood children, and they were sitting on our stoop, and I had given them all paper and books, and I said, "Okay, I'm the teacher, and you're the students." And so from that point on, he said he knew I was going to be a teacher, and ironically, I did teach. I was a teacher in my career. The second memory I have is being in eighth grade. And as I was in eighth grade, I just loved writing, just loved it, loved creative writing. And I remember my eighth grade teacher, Mr. Beglane, called me up to the desk and he said, when you go to high school next year, you should join the school newspaper. And I was like, okay, I'll do just that. I had no inclination of wanting to be a writer, but I ended up being a journalist. So those are two people in my life who spotted out things that they thought I was good at. So I ended up being a teacher and a journalist, but again, never had any strong desire to be this thing or this person or this role when I was younger.
It's interesting to hear because especially among female CIOs that I speak with, very few of them started out aspiring to this role. So going from those initial memories and anecdotes of wanting to be a teacher, wanting to be in journalism, being a reporter, can you tell us a little bit about your educational journey and career trajectory that led you to this role?
Absolutely. So if you told me, you're absolutely right. If you told me a few years ago you would be the CIO of a college and higher ed, I would say, shut up. No, I would not be. That's not me, right? At all. But it's ironic as to how the pieces came together for me. So after getting into journalism in high school, that's what I majored in college. So I went to Fordham University, as you probably know, and I majored in English and media. Um, I also had a minor in journalism. And I was on the school newspaper, became the editor-in-chief, all because of that eighth grade teacher who gave me that inspiration. And so from journalism, I just loved writing, loved video production and broadcasting. And then I got my master's in journalism at Columbia School of Journalism because that was the next step to get your master's. And so I wanted my master's in journalism, got my master's in journalism, and was working and doing internships at all the TV stations in New York. So I was having fun. I was having the time of my life, thinking I was Oprah wannabe, doing my thing with the microphone at New York Stock Exchange, thinking I was doing something impressive. But I worked and did my internships, and then finally got jobs in journalism, and continued with my education. I'm the product of the recession. So if you remember, I don't know if you remember, during the recession, just the job market tanked. And so here I was with my journalism degree, my jobs in journalism, and I thought, my goodness, I need to have a backup plan. If I don't have a backup plan, then I'm going to be in trouble. And so my backup plan was teaching, and teaching was something that I thought I was good at because I did it with everything I did was about teaching or instruction or television. And so went into teaching, got my master's in educational technology, and moved that into a doctorate. Now, I didn't intend to get my doctorate. I intended just to get a background in education so that I have the balance of journalism and education just in case something happened. I had a plan B, which is I could teach. So I had my journalism, master's in journalism, master's in educational technology. And before I got my master's, Teachers College said, well, you have to get your doctorate in educational technology if you have this more than X number of credits. So I had more credits than I needed for my master's. So ended up getting my doctorate or going on the doctorate path only because I had more credits than what I had intended. So everything sort of just happened that way. From there, and I'll tell you truthfully, it's just kind of serendipitous. From there, worked in teaching, different states, New York, Virginia, and ended up coming to Florida to be with my family. Here in Florida, worked at the school district, Hernando County School District, and the superintendent was looking for a director of technology, of MIS really, Management Information Services. And when he looked at his employee roster, he saw that I had a doctorate in educational technology. And he equated, well, if she has a doctorate in it, she can do the job. So he pulled me from the school. I was teaching and then I was an assistant principal, pulled me from the school and put me in the director of MIS technology position. From there, stayed there for about 4 years, got the position as Dean of Technology at Pasco-Hernando State College, moved through the ranks for 7 years, and became the CIO of Pasco-Hernando State College. Again, it started from a little girl who said, I'm going to be the teacher with the neighborhood students. So I never imagined that that would be my career progression at all.
It's a fascinating one, and you can see how it comes full circle for sure. So fast forwarding to present day in your former role, can you tell us what is the role of CIO like at that institution, and what would a typical week or day in the life of Dr. Harts as CIO look like?
That is an excellent question and very deep one. Reflecting back, if you asked me this maybe 11 years ago when I got into the profession, I would have had a totally different answer than I have now. But reflecting back, the role of the CIO is to be a problem solver. Truly, it's to be a problem solver who is a leader, a change leader for that institution or that organization. Technology is ever changing, so you're never going to know everything about technology, and you shouldn't. You have to surround yourself with really smart, talented, creative, innovative people and continue to move it forward. But if you put in the forefront of your mind, I'm a problem solver and I'm a change leader, then I think you can navigate through that path. A day in the life for me is keeping in mind the three prongs of my role, and that is the people, the processes, and the product. I try to keep that in mind all the time because it's about how the technology is affecting the people. What processes are we using that we need to change, navigate through, modify in order to make the technology better, the experience better, and looking at the product or the structure or the network, what do we need to do to, again, keep everything in harmony and in alignment to have a seamless experience for the end user. So that's one. A day in the life for me could run the gamut. It could run the gamut from, oh my goodness, the network is down and we are, on the phone trying to problem solve with the network provider, or it could be, oh my goodness, this piece of technology is not working and it needs to happen fast and get fixed fast. And what are you doing to make it happen? But it all centers around how do we service the student? How do we service the employee? How do we make their jobs more efficient, more effective? So if that is the game plan or the focus, then it doesn't matter what comes my way for that day. But I can tell you, no day is the same. The technology is anything but constant. So yes, it's always on your toes, but keeping in mind that you're there to solve the problem, to be a change leader, and to keep people at the forefront.
I like that
Yeah.
description. There's so much to unpack there. And given the unpredictability of the role and all the different hats you have to wear and the plates you have to spin, is there a particular accomplishment or project that you worked on in the role that you're most proud of, that was the most gratifying for you?
Absolutely. So there are many. gratifying moments, I would call them. I can tell you all of the projects, and there have been many initiatives and projects, but gratifying moments, and I'll give you one most recent a couple of weeks ago, was a student sent an email and she could not register. And so the thought was she couldn't register because it was actually a system issue. But it wasn't the system issue. The issue was that there was a process that we had in place that was requiring the student to submit some information that the student didn't have to submit. So it was causing a stumbling block or a stutter step for that student, which it didn't have to be. So it was just a privilege to walk through with that student and to help that student through the process, to shepherd her through, get her in contact with the people who could help her, and make sure that she got what she needed so that she could be successful. And I have so many stories like that, but those are the stories that I rely on when the days get hard, and they do. There's some days we win and we get through, and some days technology wins and we don't get it fixed readily the way we want to because of the program, or we need some extra parts and we have to ship. So some days we're good and we're getting things done. Some days there are issues, but on all of those days, especially the hard ones, when I remember those moments and those experiences with the students that we're helping, and it doesn't have to be a technology issue. It could be guised as a technology issue. It could seem like it's a technology issue, but truly it may be a process issue. And I'm able to help that student. Those are the moments that really, really make a difference for me.
And that seems to tie again back to being that teacher and having that gratification of helping others.
Absolutely.
With all the unpredictability, one question I had for you was if you could have a genie from the future appear and they could answer one question for you about the future of technology in higher education, something that you're thinking about a lot, what would you want to know?
If I could have a genie appear and answer a question for me about the future, I would want to know if our students are still able to connect with each other on a human one-on-one level. Things are so technologically driven, which is good, and it's wonderful to be efficient, but you still need to have that personal connection. It's not all about just being on social media. It's not all about texting. It's not all about having a virtual conversation. There's something about sitting across from someone and saying, "How are you today?" Having fun, walking on the beach. And I maybe sound like my daughter says, "You sound old school, Mom," but maybe I am old school. But I just think that there's something to that human connection that we are losing as a generation. I think that we are so focused on the shopping cart experience, online shopping cart experience. We're so focused on texting as a response, and we're so focused on sending email conversations as opposed to picking up the phone. We're so focused on a social media presence of who I am as opposed to who I really am as a person and having an interpersonal conversation. So long story short, I would ask the genie, do we still keep those social interactions that really make us human despite the increase in technology, despite the advancements with technology? Do we still keep our humanistic interactions? That's what I would want to know.
That's an excellent question to ask, and it's one I definitely wonder about a lot as someone who was, I say, lucky enough to grow up without there being most of this stuff, even Facebook.
Yes,
So
yes,
I would want to know that too. I really enjoy that answer.
yes.
So in closing, I'm curious to hear, as someone who has served in a lot of different roles, had a very interesting journey in their career. What is the best advice that you've been given about managing all those demands you talked about of being a CIO in higher education?
Mm. Never forget why you're here and never forget that you matter. I think those were the two pieces of advice one person gave me. And that has kept me, it's been my North Star, if you will. So in any situation with technology, I never forget that I'm here for the students. I'm here for the employee. No matter how frustrating it can be for them, I'm here for you. I'm going to walk through the frustration with you as much as I can. I'm going to do the best that I can to help you. And that that I do matter, that whatever little I do as part of this puzzle called life, it matters. It matters to make a difference in somebody's life. Be it a student, be it a parent, be it an employee, it does matter.
Well, that's a very great note for us to end on, Dr. Harts. Thank you so much for sharing your views and your story with us today. And
Thank you.
we'll see you next time on our Women in Technology Spotlight series.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm honored.
Thank you.